Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Pro Spotlight, where we feature the tax pros, the people who make filing taxes easier. I'm Christian Ortega, and on this episode we have Michelle Boughton, who lives in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Michelle, how are you doing?
Hi, Christian. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Michelle, how long have you been an accountant?
I've been an accountant since 2010.
What inspired you to pursue the career?
Well, it's kind of interesting, and I think it's probably a path that not taken by many accountants, but I started out as an electrical engineer. I have a degree in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech. I was an engineer for many years, and just certain things in life happened. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I started looking at accounting. I've always prepared my own tax returns, my family's tax returns. I enjoyed that. I'm kind of a problem solver. I liked numbers. And so I looked into, what does it take to be a tax professional? Started my own business in 2010, got my master's in accounting with an emphasis in tax, got my enrolled agent, and I've been doing that ever since, and I love it. I find that accounting is very similar, and tax specifically is very similar to engineering. It's problem solving, it's knowing what you have to work with and solving problems.
As you're an electrical engineer, you mentioned that you had still experience filing taxes. What was it that inspired that curiosity initially, despite not being an accountant, still doing taxes yourself?
I always like to understand things and be able to understand them in a way that I can explain them to others. I love the engineering side of my life where I did that. I could solve problems. I'd be presented with a problem and asked to create a solution and explain how that worked to others. And when I started doing taxes, I started getting questions from friends and family. I started delving into that and wanted to understand it better for myself. And I found it fascinating.
Because you didn't have the background, in accounting from college, how did you teach yourself all these concepts that are many find complex when it comes to filing taxes?
Well, I went back to college. So I have my degree in electrical engineering. I got into tax. I decided, I really want a good basis. I want a strong accounting basis. So I went back, I got accepted to the master's program at Colorado State and in accounting. And I went through that and I have an emphasis in taxation. So I built that strong foundation, and accountants continue to learn. Every year we have a requirement for continuing education, and I love the learning part of it. So I dive into that. I take as many courses as I can. Tax changes continuously. We're always getting new scenarios, new inputs from the government. So we're continuing to learn, which that's the part of it I really love. And I like to learn to the point where I can explain it. So if I can't explain it to you or to someone who doesn't have potentially a strong basis in accounting or tax, then I don't know it well enough. So I'll go back and do it again until I can explain it where the person says, gotcha. Okay, I'm really not that interested, but I'm glad that I understand how it works.
How do you compare and contrast your career as an accountant to what your career was before when you were in engineering?
I think the main difference and why I was drawn to the tax profession is the flexibility. As an engineer, and I had a security level clearance, so I was required to be in a particular area, a lot of times in a room without windows. I don't like that. I'm an outside person. I like to be able to get up and move around. I'd like to be able to go outside. And some days as an engineer, I would be in the lab and I would go in before the sun came up and leave after the sun went down. And I wasn't even sure if there ever was a day. And so with tax, I can do fun things like solve problems, educate people, create solutions that make people, for the most part, happy. And I can step away. So it's very, very flexible. I work from home. I can be outside. I can enjoy that part of my life. It's a great balance for me.
So you graduate from your master's program, you get your EA credential. What was your career like from then as an accountant?
Once I got my degree and my enrolled agent credential, I felt empowered. I've always had the background to learn and to solve problems, but I had that confidence. I think the degree and the credential gave me that confidence to say, you know what, I really do know what I'm doing. And I could present that to people and say, look, here's my credentials, here's my experience. And having that confidence makes a huge difference. I've always enjoyed tax. I've always enjoyed educating people, but having that basis, that background, that credential gave me that confidence to let people know, hey, like what I do, but I also am good at what I do.
What is it like making the commitment to go back to school and learn something new at, well into your adult life when you've already established yourself as an engineer?
It's interesting. I started my master's in engineering when I was young. And at that time, I was actually starting my family. So having my first child interrupted my first master's attempt. And I always said, you know what, I'm going to go back to this. And what I didn't realize was when I went back to it, I was going to be in a different profession. So I went through my engineering career without that master's in engineering. I raised 3 children. When my oldest child got her master's in engineering, by the way, I said, you know what, it's my turn. I went back to college, super excited, got that master's in accounting, and I loved every minute of it.
How do you balance that when you're first starting off? Obviously, getting a master's is a huge commitment, but you still gotta make sure that everything is settled financially and that you're able to meet all of your commitments to your family. How do you find that balance while you're still studying?
Great question, and that's life, and I found that my nature and being a mom, raising 3 children, you have to do that balance every day, really, with okay, what's important, what's my priority for today, and you have to keep reevaluating. So going to school, raising my kids, still running my business, it was a challenge, but it kept me fulfilled. I was ready for bed every night, happy to be done, but always excited to go back the next day.
How has your life changed when now that you're an accountant and you have your enrolled agent's credential compared to when you were working in engineering? You mentioned flexibility. Are there other aspects that you come to really appreciate or that you took for granted years ago that now you really come to embrace?
Definitely. The flexibility is the biggest thing. So, and the financial freedom. So, it can be a little scary some days if you think about it too much. But running my own business and having that flexibility, and I decide what my day is going to be like. I decide when I'm going to do this for my clients. I decide where I'm going to do it. That that can't be that can't be replaced. Having to go to an office and work in an office is not for me. And I did enjoy what I did as an engineer, but being able to have that flexibility, it's really number one. That's what's changed my life. I can make my plans. I can go kayaking on a Tuesday. I can work on tax returns at midnight. I choose what to do as long as I'm successful and come through for my clients. They don't really care where or when I do things.
So we've all heard about the rigors of tax season and how demanding it is for accountants to meet expectations in such a tight window. What I want to know is, how do you escape from stress? How do you balance that hectic periods of busy seasons with being able to decompress and recharge for the next day?
It's so important to step away, is to schedule. What I've learned is I have to schedule sometimes. That busy season of tax, you'll find yourself sitting at your desk, 12, 15 hours a day, forgetting to eat, forgetting to take a break, forgetting to drink enough water. You have to schedule that. You have to get into a good habit of taking care of yourself. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your clients, you can't take care of your family. And so I make sure to schedule that time. I'm not always successful in taking as much time as I want, taking that full day off every week in February and March. But I definitely try. So the number one focus is schedule that time to step away, to do something that is not tax, that is not sitting at a computer, be outside, get fresh air. It really revives me, makes a huge difference.
So Michelle, you mentioned kayaking and being outside, getting the fresh air. When you're not working or helping out clients, what is it that somebody can normally catch you doing in your free time?
Walking my dog. My dog and I live close to the Chesapeake Bay. There's a beach that is fairly rural. We go to the beach and we run, we play in the water, or I have a dock right off the river where we hop in our kayak. My dog and I will just paddle around and just enjoy the views, enjoy the water, enjoy the sunshine.
What's your dog's name?
Sam.
What kind of dog is he?
Sam is a 3-year-old lab pit bull mix. I adopted him from the local humane society a year ago.
In that time when you're, being able to play with Sam or going kayaking on the river, what is it? What do you appreciate about having that solitude?
Just being outside has always revived me. nature, and it doesn't even matter if it's sunny, if it's raining, if it's whatever the weather is. I lived for 30 years in Colorado and would always be outside, no matter whether there's snow or sun or rain. And being here around so much water, which is amazing, that I didn't have in Colorado, I'm so grateful for the chance to be here, to live here, to experience this, and to have a great companion in Sam who is happy no matter what we do, as long as we're together.
Why is it that you feel that connection to the outdoors is able to recharge your batteries?
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about why. I've just always been since I was a kid, always enjoyed being outside, not being contained. I feel like I have a little claustrophobia maybe, but if I can step outside or I can see the sky, I just feel better.
Michelle, how did you hear about TaxFile?
TaxFile sent me something in the mail, and I reached out to several of my peers who are CPAs and enrolled agents, and they had all received that same mailer. And I said, you know what? I'm always up for a new challenge, a new experience. This sounds fascinating. So I reached out and scheduled a call, and I was intrigued. So right away, I got several opportunities. Originally they told me, hey, you're not going to get anything till next tax season. I think this was October, Christian. And right away, I got several opportunities to assist clients. And so I'm really, really happy that I jumped on this opportunity. The flexibility, meeting new clients, working with your platform, all very straightforward and simple to use.
When you're reviewing that mailer and you're talking to your colleagues, before you were even onboarded, what was it about TaxFile's platform that, at the very least, piqued your curiosity and made you think, yeah, it might be worth it if I give it a shot?
So when I got the mailer, I went to the website, played around, kind of read some reviews, saw the videos that were there, the training sessions, the screenshots. It looked well conceived. It looked clear and straightforward. And again, as I said, I'm always up for a challenge and willing to explore new opportunities to do taxes, to help people, to learn, of course, to make some more money. And so, I said, let's go for this, and met with everyone on the team for TaxFile, was very open and welcoming and answered all my questions and made it pretty straightforward and simple.
Other than being able to relish the flexibility that the platform provides you, what are some of the other aspects that you've been able to benefit from being a pro?
I'm very new to the platform. I think I onboarded in maybe early October. Did four returns, and I assisted with some other issues where a tax professional had to step away, and so I could take over and help resolve those. And I think I mentioned I relish challenges and problem solving, so made me feel like I was being used to my best ability there. I actually recommended TaxFile to several of my peers who have gone through the process, and we're looking forward to what this next tax season brings.
What is it about taxes that address that desire to, solve challenges and, find solutions for these intricate matters?
So taxes affect everyone, and everyone in different ways. Although there's the same tax law that's applicable to everyone, everyone has a slightly different situation. They may think it's straightforward, and it turns out to be not. They might think it's not straightforward, and it turns out to be straightforward. So what I do is I approach each person's situation. And, doing a tax return for a person is not just grabbing documents from them. It's having an interview. It's getting to know them. Hey, you have to know their birthday. You have to know where they live. You have to know their family situation. You have to know all about their finances, what they do for a living, what their expenses are. You really get to know a person, and that's building that relationship that becomes hopefully a years-long relationship where they're trusting you and you're trusting them. And so the problem-solving part of it is understanding. Okay, so what's going on in your life, Mr. Smith, and what have you got for income, and what's happening? How can we solve this problem, this tax solution for you to the benefit of you while we're meeting the requirements of the IRS and your state government? How can we fit all these pieces together and do the best job we can? And it's amazing. I feel successful. I feel like I've done a good job when a client says, okay, I understand. Or they ask a question and I repeat it in a different way. And they're like, okay, I get it now. I appreciate that. I want to understand why. I'm not so happy that I have to pay taxes, but at least I know why.
What are some moments when in your career as EA, where a client was able to come to you, they have those questions about their taxes, or they're just misunderstanding the concepts, and you're able to sit down with them, get to know their unique needs a little bit better, and find a solution for what they're experiencing.
So I had a client several years ago come to me, and she had not filed in 7 years. And it got to the point the first year, she explained this to me when we're talking. She said the first year, I had some things I didn't understand and I just kind of put it off. The next year, she's like, yeah, I've already waited a year. I'm just going to wait. And so this continued. And 7 years later, she's like, okay, she's starting to get letters from the IRS. She's in a panic. She got referred to me and we sat down and just discussed. And I like to say that I put her at ease. I said, you know what? We can do this. You're not alone. This has happened to many, many people. And you should be proud of yourself for deciding, okay, I'm going to take care of this now. And don't even think about it being 7 years. Okay, you are deciding to solve this problem now. And you've come to me and we're going to take care of it. So we proceeded to discuss and we talked about the first year, the second year, the third year, and so on. We got it done. And she's been my client ever since. And is just so relieved. And I'm so happy to take that weight off her shoulder, help her take that weight off her shoulders, because she's the one who made the decision to do it.
In a circumstance like that, where somebody hadn't filed taxes for a few years, what would you recommend to help ease their situation? How do they get back on track and fix their relationship with the IRS?
I think the first thing, and it's been successful for me, is telling them, hey, you're not the only one. This has happened to so many people, and I get it. Life happens. Taxes are not a comfortable thing for most people. You put it off. There's no judgment here. Now, the IRS might be judging you, but we're going to take care of it, okay? And you've come to me, and we're going to handle this.
Because there are so many DIY options available that allow taxes to be filed for free, instead, why should a customer or a tax filer invest in a service like TaxFile that gives them access to an enrolled agent like yourself?
Great question. And so what I tell my clients is, hey, if you want to give this a shot yourself, I respect that. That's how I started out. Taxes are fascinating to me, and I get it. I get that you want to take the challenge and do it yourself. But keep this in mind, tax is complicated, and it's getting more so. And even besides the complications, there are so many aspects to tax and your personal situation that it's hard to know, hey, am I missing something? Am I forgetting something? Or, am I doing everything but doing it incorrectly? How do I know that? And it gets to be overwhelming for most people. And that's where I come in. I can ease your mind. I can make sure that we're covering everything, that we're doing it correctly. And I can answer all your questions and make you feel like, okay, we're good.
And earlier you mentioned that because you're an enrolled agent and to maintain your credential, you have to be constantly learning new things every single year to get the continuing education credits completed. Can you provide some context behind your knowledge of the tax landscape and why, for the average filer, cramming at the last minute with all the latest updates, deductions, and credits that may or may not be applicable to them may not be recommended compared to what you have already, learned throughout the previous year?
Right. So tax is my job. Tax is my specialty. I live and breathe tax, and I spend endless hours. Actually, it's not endless. I can count them in training to maintain my certification, my credential, and it's what I do. I know it. I know it inside and out. And if I don't, because new situations do come around, it depends on the person. If I don't know, I know where to go to learn about that. So this is your life. This is your money. This is, it's worth your investment in me to get that right. If you file an incorrect or incomplete tax return, it could take you years to get that resolved. And meanwhile, you're paying penalties and interest, paying potentially fines. So I believe it's important to invest in a tax professional because this is our job. This is what we do.
Is there anything I may not have asked you about yourself, your career, or the benefits of using a tax professional rather than filing on your own that you think is important people understand?
I think it's important that people understand that tax professionals are people too. And we do have lives, and we do understand that you have a life, and we want to get to know you. We want to personally know you so that we can help you in the best way possible. And we are a resource. And so talk to us. I recommend that my clients contact me in the summer, in the fall. We talk about tax planning. We talk about what's happening in their life. Hey, I've got clients who call me, hey, my kid got accepted to private school, or I'm going to look at taking this job. What do you think? Or, hey, these RSUs are coming through. What do I do with them? We like to talk about life throughout the year, not just after the year has happened and we're looking to file this return. So I recommend that you stay in contact with your tax professional. We have resources. We have education. We can help you make some decisions.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you having the time to speak with me.
Absolutely, Christian. Thank you for your time.
That was this month's episode of Pro Spotlight. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media for helpful tips, whether you run your own firm, are an accountant, or just want to know a little bit more about how to file taxes. Check out our blog at taxfile.com.